Once again, I am becoming a scout to hire in Football Manager. In the first video we did like this, we found players for one team scrapping for relegation and another who were pushing for top 4 by Christmas of the first season. And today we're going a little further, in fact, one more year. So it's Boxing Day 2023 and today we are looking at La Liga and Bundesliga. Let's take a look in Spain then. I'd say we have 2 or 3 options for teams that we need to assist. Sociedad are there in 8th place, but their budget absolutely sucks. Same with Valencia, who are in 9th place. Celta Vigo are in 13th and have a healthy £21 million budget for us. But I actually like the look of Almeria, who find themselves in 18th place in the relegation zone in their second season of La Liga after promotion. And they also have £21 million in their remaining budget to find some season-changing players. So for the Bundesliga, I want to take a look at a team nearer to the top of the league. Although Gladbach are in 13th, which did pique my interest. Obvious choice would be Frankfurt, who are my favourite German team. Leipzig are in the title race too, but with Bayern they have 0 budget left. So my assistance today is going to Borussia Dortmund, who are in 4th place. And they have £27 million for me to bring in a new player. So how is this going to work? Well, I'm going to take a look at the 2 teams, what their manager is using as their tactic, study their tactic and what they are playing in that tactic. Maybe there's a weak link in the team that we can try and replace with a better player. So Almeria are rocking a classic 4-3-3 with a DM. And judging by the total amount of appearances, there are some first team players that are underperforming. As well as a starting centre midfielder, Robertone, being out for another 2 to 3 months. Right winger Pozo is underperforming too, starting 15 games, only scoring 1 goal and has an average rating of 6.6 in the league. So my first option in that role is Samuel Lino, who is transfer listed by request, a great attacking winger who can also play up front and good at finishing with a lot of pace. Alejandro Garnacho is also a great loan option we could take advantage, who could be a fantastic addition to the squad. I'd also be curious to see if Ismail Assar would be interested in joining from Watford also. But I am thinking about the injury to Robertone, who is Almeria's key player. Andre from Fluminense is the first player that springs to my shortlist. The young Brazilian is waiting for that big jump to Europe. Maybe he will give Almeria a chance. But I really like Fidalgo in Mexico, who is originally Spanish and came through Real Madrid's academy. However, a final check over the club, I noticed something really alarming. Almeria have conceded the most number of goals in La Liga. And yes, that is backed up by how average their centre-backs are. Tenaglias is a cheap option from Argentina. He's played in Spain before and his second nationality is Italian, so that helps with registration purposes. But Alejandro Catena from the league below looks like a solid option as well and is a towering figure at 6'4". Jesus Vallejo from Real Madrid too, if we could afford his wages and he'd like to come. So for now, I made myself manager of Almeria to see who is actually obtainable. Right, so we got our players in question here. So I think what I'll do is I'll prioritize the striker / winger and the centre-back, but we'll have a look at the 2 midfielders and just see whether they would be obtainable. So of course I'm not going to actually sign them for this because obviously I've replaced the manager. I'm going to see how much they're going to cost us, what the wages are going to cost, obviously if they're obtainable, and then we'll go back to when the Almeria manager is in charge and edit them into their team instead. That's how we're going to do it. But first, we got to find out who I'm actually going to prioritize. Let's go with the striker option. I keep saying striker, it's the right winger option because there is obviously a few. Now, Samuel Lino has actually now come off the transfer list, which is not great. Now, they did have an okay budget, so if we were just going to sign him by himself, we could do that. But we don't have the option to do that because we really need a centre-back. So I actually think he might be out of the question now. I think we can remove Samuel Lino. Now, the other options that we have was Ismail Assar, who is still wanted by a couple of other clubs, but is going to be leaving on a free. So they want £11.75 million. Or we go for Alejandro Garnacho, who is actually really good. We can see, I mean, if he is availability for a loan. Does it say that you want to do it for a loan? He's not interested in joining under any circumstances. So even if we did do a loan, that is so expensive as well. Like 150k monthly fee on top of his wages, which aren't that expensive. I think it's going to be Ismail Assar then. So we'll go for him. Let's see. £11.75 million. I mean, he's valued at this. Are they going to... So they want more. Why is he transfer value of 11.5? But you want to have more. So I'm going to come down to this. Right, so £12.5 million, and we can get Ismail Assar. Obviously, we don't know whether he actually wants to come to us. We probably should have asked his agent. He is looking, he's decided the end of his contract. Wages between 59 and 73, that could be our problem. Because, actually, our wages are actually quite good. We'll see how much we're allowed to offer. Right, so centre-back option, Vallejo, Catania, and Tenaglia. So let's have a look at Tenaglia first. We're very keen. 275 to 6.2, so really cheap. Good wages as well. And he is very interested in joining. That's a good tick. Catania from the league below. I'd imagine he'd also want to be... Yeah, he's pleased to hear of our strong interest. Round about the same price because obviously the low point is a little bit higher, but the highest point is lower than what the last player was. If that makes sense. And his wages are lower too. So now we need to decide which one out of the two is the better player, or we go for Jesus Vallejo, who's probably going to be the most expensive wage-wise. Wouldn't be interested. So we can completely disregard Jesus Vallejo, and it's just out of these two. So which one out of these two do I prefer? The good thing is, obviously, we can compare it. So if I go on Catania, then I go to Tenaglia, and I can compare the two players. Which one is looking the better? Now, the green of Tenaglia is better in defending, speed, vision, and attacking, but Catania is far greater in aerial and mental. Oh, that's difficult. That is difficult. Which one do I actually want to prioritize more? Looking at it on this page, I would probably say Catania, because where he is lower in things, positioning is only one. Off the ball, obviously, that's going forward. We want him as a centre-back. We don't really need to worry about that. Crossing and everything, if he's playing a centre-back, again, we don't really need to worry about that. And he's not bad, technically. He's better in the air, got better heading, better composure and concentration, decision-making. I think I've answered my question there. We're going to go and try and get Catania. So let's offer him something then, or let's try and actually offer the club something. We know his lowest point is here, so we can offer, so they want £6 million, but we can reduce that, I'd say, to 5.25 million pound. That's a bargain. So with him and Ismail Assar, that's roughly all of our budget. With both offers accepted, then let's see what we can negotiate. Contract-wise, regular starter for Sarr, that's absolutely fine. I can see if I can remove that. I can. Final promises, then let's have a look at negotiate the contract. 53 grand a week is a lot cheaper than what I expected. There is a minimum fee release clause. We can actually up that. I guess it doesn't really matter because I can't exactly change that anyway, but let's try and go down to 50. Here we go, 50, and just see if he accepts. He does. So a 3-year deal on 50 grand a week. I think that's really good. So let's have a look at Catania then. He's slightly interested because he has more interest in going to Celta, which that's not too great. The long-term ambitions for the club, finishing the top half in a year time, whatever. 39k. All right. So, I mean, he's not that patient. I'm just going to try and reduce him down to like 37. And again, he's on a 3-year deal, 37k. I then moved each player to Almeria using the editor with the original manager still in charge. And with my work here done in Spain, it's time to analyze Dortmund and their 4-2-3-1. And right away, I noticed that they were using Yassin Adli in the number 10 spot, who only has 2 goals and 1 assist in 22 games. It seems like they never replaced Giovanni Reina, who they sold to Bayern Munich. The South Korean wonder kid Lee Kang-in is right away a standout option with fantastic attributes, player traits, and 3 assists for Mallorca this season. 22-year-old Argentine Pedro de la Vega has very similar attributes and appears to be even cheaper. Could be a great option to strengthen another position as well. Could we revive the career of Donny van de Beek though for just 7 million? Or stick to the Bundesliga way of signing domestic players like Roland Salai at Freiburg? In terms of other positions, I'd say their weakest player is the right back, but he's actually been performing well. He's also not that terrible really, so my only other thought is the CDM slot. Özcan playing alongside Bellingham is very good. Maybe if we are lucky we can find somebody better though. Renato Sanchez being listed is interesting. He is a totally different type of player. And I also like Marcus Antonio at Lazio. He's very good at being the classic deep ball playing midfielder. My only viable option at right back though is Odriozola, but I fear that his wages might be a little too much. Okay, so I've temporarily added myself as the Borussia Dortmund manager. Let's take a look at some of these attacking midfielders then. Now, obviously I started off with Kang-In Lee from Mallorca. So if we ask his availability, then they're probably not going to want to set... Oh my, 42 million. Well, that is already out the window, and I kind of got an idea of where this is going to lead to. So we'll ask about Roland Salai. Again, it's a Bundesliga player. They might not want to sell him to us. They're actually okay with it. His deal expires next summer, so 6 months. We could approach him. 5.4 to 6.4 million pounds. It's quite cheap. He's okay, but I think he's better out on the wing. Donny van der Beek, I've got a feeling we'll just be asking for ridiculous wages. 155. Yeah, I mean, if we take a look at our transfers, we do have 242,000, but I don't really want to bankrupt the club for a risky player when potentially this could be the guy, and he could be a lot cheaper in wages. So Pedro de la Vega, again, 37 to 47, and he's probably cheaper. I think this is definitely our #1 option, so I'm willing to just go out on a limb and just say, let's try and get him straight away. £5 million with 4.6 in installments. If I bring that down and bring that down, so that's going to be 5.5, 6.5 million pound. They accept it. 6.5 million for how good of a player he actually is. So that is a great start, and that comes out. So we've got 21 million pound left out of our budget there, and that gives us the option to then go for a centre midfielder, who I actually think is probably a better option than going for Odriozola, who might be a little bit expensive again. He doesn't even want to join us, so he's only just signed a new contract. That's fair enough. Ronaldo Sanchez is actually on loan at Bayern from PSG, so if we bought him, I think you might be able to take it over the deal, but I'd rather just go for Marcus Antonio, who I actually think is a better player. We've got enough money, and he's cheap. We could be in for 2 good players here, guys. We could be in for 2 fantastic players. We'll get rid of that. His injury is only a week. I did check that. We'll remove this, bring that down. So we've got 21 million pound. They accept 17.5. Nice. Now for the easy part, let's find out what wages they actually want after telling us they wanted a certain amount before. 46,000, like, we'll probably can get him down to 40, I'd imagine. That would probably be achievable for us. Lower that. He'd probably say yes. No, he's very reluctant. I don't actually want to mess around with his patience, so we'll go with 45. He's accepted that. That's fantastic. So Pedro de la Vega is a great option for us. Marcus Antonio, let's find out how much we can get him for. He's actually happy to be a squad player, which that's interesting. 63. He's got a lot of patience, so we can bring him down quite a lot. 49k there. He has a minimum fee release clause. Let's remove that. Not that we would put that one in anyway. 49k again. Let's try it. 63. Will you accept 55? That's kind of meeting this in the middle. Right, there we go. £55,000 a week. So with all the transfers made, let's see how successful they really are. And remember, I never removed the managers. I simply went back and loaded before and added them to the original squads. If you do enjoy these videos, by the way, please consider subscribing. And remember, I have started doing videos again on my 2nd channel with the wrestling content with the new game coming out, and on my 3rd channel with Dad, where we're reacting to some classic football stuff. It's not been a great start for Almeria, as Sar's been at the AFCON, which I completely forgot about, and he hasn't played yet. And Catania has picked up a 2-month injury after starting the last 2 games. Annoyingly, De La Vega is also on international duty, but Marcus Antonio has been starting while Bellingham has been injured. But all of a sudden, Adley decided to step up and he scored 3 goals in his last 3 games. However, my biggest worry is Almeria being relegated. So let's go to the end of the season and see the final results. Well, Dortmund, they've missed out by 1 win from jumping into 3rd place and are now only in Europa League next season. Both players brought in have been starting and coming off the bench, but Pedro de la Vega has been coming off the right and Adley is still featuring every game. He did end up scoring 11 goals and finishing the 2nd highest goal scorer after the threat of Pedro came in, it seems. And Dortmund were also knocked out of the DFB Pokal by Cologne in the quarters, as well as Bilbao from Europa in the 1st round knockout stage. Pedro de la Vega did great coming in and scoring 4 goals and assisting 3 in the league alone. And even Marcus Antonio played well and also got 4 assists. That's okay results, but it's definitely a failed video if Almeria got themselves relegated. Well, in fact, there's nothing to worry about as Almeria climbed from 19th all the way to 11th, finishing on 44 points. Ismail Assar was a starting key player, and although he featured on the bench in the last game, Catania started 14 games as well. Sarr's goal contributions were not amazing, but his average rating being above 7 is impressive. Just like Catania, who did great since his transfer when he did play. It seemed he helped the defense as well, as they ended up conceding only the 4th highest at the end of the season, which isn't great still, but it's an improvement from when he joined. So overall, it is a success in Spain, but maybe not so much in Germany. Let me know if you want to see more of these, because I've been really enjoying doing them. And why not check out this video where I created a player with 0 current ability and seeing if he could take them all the way to 200, which was his maximum potential.